Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel for Women's Yoga, where I provide practices for each phase of the cycle, for the different seasons, and for different experiences that we tend to experience when we're either in a woman's body physiologically or energetically, or when we're trying to tap into the feminine aspect of our energy more so than the masculine. So today's practice is for the luteal phase of our cycle. This is akin to being our inner fall or inner autumn, and it tends to be the week to about 10 days before our menstrual cycle. So it's what happens just after ovulation. And many of us have different experiences in our luteal phase. Some feel really grounded and strong and feel like they have steady energy. Some people feel a sharp drop off in their energy as your hormones are decreasing, more and more up until menstruation. And some of us tend to experience PMS type symptoms during this time. We experience maybe more emotions or things that we were able to avoid for the rest of our cycle kind of come bubbling up, and we're kind of faced with them. We have to address them or just face them in general. So today's practice is meant to be very steadying, grounding, because we are in our outer fall as well, moving closer to the winter months. So it's a little bit more subdued, a little bit more toned down, less vinyasa, less heating. But there are going to be some twisting movements today because this is a great time in our cycle to practice some poses that would support our detoxification pathways. So you'll notice some twisting, and there'll also be some immune boosting exercises as well, because this is a time to really begin to bolster our immune system, both in this outer season of fall, but also internally. We often find that as we move toward menstruation, our immunity tends to dip, and it's more likely to get something like a cold or an infection just prior to menstruation. So we'll do some things to boost the immune system as well. So go ahead and grab what you need to set your space. I recommend having a mat, at least one blanket. If you have a bolster, great, grab it. If you have a couple of blocks or books that you can use that look like this, that's great. And if you happen to have a belt or a bolster, that would be really helpful today as well. So go ahead and grab what you have and meet me on the mat. Okay, welcome back. We're going to start our practice today in a restorative pose and focus on the breath. So I'm coming into supported reclined butterfly pose. So to do that, I've got a blanket rolled behind me. You can also use a stack of pillows or a bolster, and it's right up against my sacrum. I also have a belt wrapped around my waist, so it's in a circle. And just make sure that if you're using it, you don't have the clasp right on your feet. That'll kind of dig into the skin and be painful. So just switch that around, put it underneath the bottoms of the feet, and then you can just let the knees splay open. If the hips are pretty tight today, you can go ahead and grab a couple of blankets, pillows, books, whatever you have to support the knees, and then slowly begin to recline back. And just lengthening through the spine, letting your props support your body fully as you come into this resting position. So we're gently opening up the hips, the pelvic bowl. We're letting the sit bones and the back body settle, which can feel very grounding. But we also have a gentle heart opener happening with the blanket rolled beneath us. So just taking a moment to notice how this pose feels in your body today. And then we're going to tune into the breath. So we're going to come into a breath practice that's called Samavriti, or same breath. So we're going to inhale for a count of 5 and exhale for a count of 5. So just letting your breath settle first. You can sigh out loud, get any wiggling or squirming out, and then find your steadiness. We'll inhale here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale 2, 3, 4, and 5. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just continue counting internally at your own pace, your own rhythm, for a few more rounds. And if you find that the body begins to tense up as you're mentally focused on counting, just drop the counting and breathe normally, breathe naturally. Good. And what I would love for you to do right now is just to check in and notice on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being very, very low and 10 being extremely high, where's your energy at right now? So often we get into the hook of going and doing, and it can be this false sense of energy. And when we come to settle into our body, we can actually accurately gauge where our energy is at and what our bodies need most right now. So just noticing that. And then begin to bend the knees. You can take the feet out of the belt if you were using it and slowly slide it down from underneath you. It doesn't have to be graceful, just setting it off to the side. And moving the blocks off to the side. And I'm actually going to slide the blanket out from underneath me and stay on my back. So coming onto a flat back, and then bending the knees into the chest. Good, and just receive this pressure, this support on the belly. This is a great pose for digestion. It's also gently detoxifying. You can gently rock like I am or stay very steady and still. And then we're going to bring the feet into a gentle happy baby. And no, we haven't done a lot of hip opening just yet, so keep it very gentle. Don't try to open as deeply as you might at the end of your practice. And just slowly allow the body to melt open. Good, and if it feels uncomfortable to do long holds first thing in the practice, you can keep coming out. Letting the legs relax, letting the lower back relax and open, and then you can come back into it. Good, and then bringing the knees back into the chest. And we'll slowly roll onto our right side and come up to seated. I'm going to face you. And I'm actually going to sit up on a blanket. So I'm unrolling the blanket so that I don't go rolling off. Just to support my hips a little bit more, open up the pelvic area a bit more. So as I mentioned, we're going to be doing some twisting today. So we're going to start off with an exercise that's both movement linked with the breath. And this is a great detox. It's also very energizing. So if you're finding you feel lethargic or low energy, you can do a few rounds of this practice and support yourself in that way, bring some energy back. So we're going to have the hands in a cactus pose like this. You can also come into mudra position if you prefer. And just settle in. And we're going to inhale to the right, gently twist, and exhale to the left. Inhale to the right, exhale to the left. And keeping the arms in the same position, we're moving from the core. And don't yank or force any twisting, just let the body move to where it naturally stops, and then move to the other side. and let the breath guide you, okay? So really move with the inhale and the exhale. We're going to go about 20 rounds, so 1, 2, like that, for about 20 rounds. So finding your own rhythm, your own pace, and just let yourself kind of get lost in the movement, okay? And inhale, come back to center. Reach the arms above the head, and exhale, arms come down, planting the fingertips onto the mat and letting your energy ground. So just taking a moment to notice how that felt in your body, if you noticed any shifts energetically. We're going to do one more practice like this before we move into our poses. So for this one, arms are coming to a similar position. We're going to bring the hands into fists as we lower them, and elbows are going to come into our ribs, and we're kind of going to hit the sides like that. So inhale, reaching up, exhale, hitting the ribs. And the reason that we do this is it really stimulates the lymph to move, which is another form of detoxification. It's also supportive to our immune system. So same thing, breathing through the nose if you can, in and out in a steady rhythm for about 20 times. And begin whenever you're ready. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, arms come down, fingertips to the mat. And you can move intuitively if you feel to, or just sitting steady. Just tuning in and noticing how that felt in the body. Noticing if it had an effect on the mind, on your emotional body. Continuing to check in really is the practice of yoga, being present with what's moving through us in any given moment. So I'm going to set the blanket aside and come onto all fours. I'm going to keep my blocks at the top of my mat just so I have them handy. And we'll make our way into tabletop. So keeping the toes tucked or flat on the mat, find what feels good in your body today. And you probably know where we're going. We're going to warm up with some cat-cows. So inhaling, arching the back, moving the heart forward, and exhaling, turning in. And if you want to spend a little bit more time on the exhale here, that's a great way to be a little bit more inward and to focus on releasing. Inhaling, arch, exhaling, turning in. Continuing like this for just a few more cycles, tuning into your own rhythm, your own pace. If this forward and backward motion feels good, stay here. If you'd like to move in some circles, go ahead and begin to move in that pattern. You don't have to stick to these shapes. Just find a movement, a fluid movement that feels really good in your body right now. Gently warming up, opening up, stretching, releasing. This is how we tap into the feminine a little bit more intentionally, not so linear and structured. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring the big toes together, take the knees a little bit wider and press back, child's pose. And just release any built up tension so far. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, walk the hands to the right and fold. Breathing into that left side body, letting the neck relax, the face relax. And inhale, looking forward, walking the hands back to center. Pause here for a breath to reset. And then as you exhale, walk your hands off to the left and fold. Breathe into the right side body. Let that begin to open organically with the breath. And then inhaling, come back up. Bringing the hands back to center and finding your tabletop position once more. Here we're going to walk the knees back just a step or two, tuck the toes, and press up into our first down dog. So take your time here. You can begin to pedal the knees, walking out your dog. Good. You can keep the knees bent as you lift the hips up toward the sky. Roll the outer arms toward the inside, toward the middle of the mat. And let the shoulders move down the back just a bit. Maybe you shake the head, yes and no. And then find steadiness once more. Good. And inhale, look forward. Begin to walk your way to the front of the mat and fold. Inhale, come up halfway, lengthen through the spine. And exhale, fold completely, keeping a gentle bend in the knees to support the belly. And you can place the hands on the floor or on some blocks. You can take opposite elbows and let gravity do the work of slowly unfolding, unraveling the upper spine, the head, releasing neck tension, releasing mental stress. Coming back into the body. Great, and release the hands and slowly roll yourself up to standing at the top of your mat. Good, and coming into mountain pose. So just grounding into all four corners of the feet, the inner edge, the outer edge, the front, the back. Feeling really rooted and steady. Good. Keeping this stillness internally as we begin to move. So inhale, lengthen up. And exhale, fold. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, place the hands and step the left leg back behind you, lowering the knee and coming into low lunge. So take a moment just to check in that your front knee is right in alignment with your ankle. Back leg feels supported. If you're feeling any pressure on the knee, go ahead and place a blanket underneath that or roll up the mat so you have a little more support there. And then begin to just gently, subtly pull that right hip back, left hip forward. Good. Inhale, lengthen through both sides of the body, and as you exhale, begin to twist toward that front leg. So the left arm comes toward the front of the mat, the right arm points to the back of the mat. We just begin to gently move into these twisting actions. And taking just a couple of breaths here, grounding into the lower body, keeping that steadiness. And then exhale, place the hands down. Take an inhale here, and as you exhale, come into a runner's lunge. If this feels like too much, use your blocks, books, whatever you have, to bring the mat a little bit closer to you. Good. So same action as in the lunge, pulling that right hip back, letting the left hip move a little bit forward. And really breathing into that right hamstring. Keeping the shoulders down the back, neck long. Letting everything that's not working right now relax. So hands can relax, face can relax, belly can relax. Then bend back into the front knee, set the blocks aside, and step back into your first plank. So pausing for a breath here in plank, then lowering the knees, chest, and chin. Inhale, baby cobra. Take a couple of breaths here. You can lift up your right leg, stretch it back, Plant it again. Left leg lifts. Stretch it back. Plant it. See if you can find a little bit more space in that lower back and come up again. Good. And exhale. Press back into a down dog. So taking a moment just to settle in here, noticing what your body is asking for. So if you'd like to pedal the knees again, go ahead. If you'd like to take the feet a little bit wider, you can do that. Just trying out these options and seeing what feels really good right now. And then inhale, look forward, and exhale, begin to walk your feet to the front of the mat and fold. Inhale, coming up halfway, and exhale, fold just a bit deeper. Rooting into the feet, inhale, rise all the way up to standing, reach up, gather that energy, and exhale, place it in the heart, or you can also place it in the womb space, or both. Good. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, fold. Inhale, coming up halfway. Exhale, place the hands and step the right foot back behind you, bend the knee, set it down, and inhale, come up to low lunge on the left side now. So taking a moment just to set your pose up, grabbing any support that you need, and breathing here. Letting the lower body get settled, and then lengthening in the upper body, seeing if you can find some length from the hips to the armpits. And on your next inhale, we'll take that twist toward the left leg. So that right arm is coming to the front of the mat, left hand behind you, reaching in opposite directions, almost like you're being pulled. And just breathing into this twist. Good, one more breath. And exhale, place the hands down and come into that runner's lunge on the left side. So again, if you want to bring the mat a little closer to you, you can use some blocks, you can use a couple books, whatever you can stack. And just do the work here of letting the left hip move back, the right hip just a bit forward, lengthening through the spine, and softening. Teaching your body what it feels like to work without overexerting. And that's going to look different for each of us, different in each phase of our cycle, different from day to day. So we've got to be intentional in tuning in often. Good. Setting the blocks aside, bend back into that front knee and step back plank pose. Take an inhale here in plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, coming up into cobra. And exhale, down dog. And letting these down dogs be a little bit more lengthy. Seeing if you can find equal weight in the feet and the hands. So just rocking a little bit back and forth until you find your center point, and then allowing everything to settle. And really feel the mat coming up to meet your feet and your hands supporting you. Inhale, look forward, and exhale, walk to the front of the mat. And fold. Inhale, come up halfway. And exhale, turn back inward. Keeping the feet steady, inhale, rise all the way to standing, reach up. And exhale, place the energy in the heart center, in the womb space. And come back to mountain pose. Maybe you close your eyes here for a second And see if you can find balance, even with the eyes shut. Trusting the body to find steadiness. Good, and opening the eyes once again, inhaling, reaching up, and exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, place the hands, step the left foot back behind you. Inhale, rise up, high lunge. So bring a gentle bend into that back knee, let the hips settle, right hip moving back, left hip moving forward. Find some length in the upper body, and then begin to straighten the back leg if it feels okay. If the hip feels too tight today, just keep that gentle bend. Good, so just breathing here, settling into the lower body, letting it root, ground. And then inhale, lengthen through the upper body, and exhale, twist. So left arm reaching forward, right arm reaching behind you. And with each exhale, maybe you twist just a bit further. But again, try not to go past 50% effort today. So if that means staying here, great. If that means staying here, great. If that means dropping back down onto your knee, great. Just keep listening to the body. And then placing the hands down and step back plank pose. Inhale here, exhale knees, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra. And exhale, down dog. And settle in here for a good 5 breaths. And just check in with your energy. If you feel like your energy is a 5 or below, come down into a child's pose. And breathe here. Give the body permission to rest. Good, and then inhale, looking forward, and exhale, stepping the feet to the front of the mat, and fold. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, and exhale, turn in. Keeping a gentle bend in the knees, the feet planted. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, draw the hands back to heart center, back to the womb space. Good, opposite side. Inhale, reach up, open up, maybe gently begin to open the heart, and exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step the right foot back behind you. Keep a gentle bend in that back knee, and when you feel steadiness, rise up, high lunge. Good, now setting the hips, squaring them toward the front of your mat as best as you can, finding some length in the upper body, and from this expansion, begin to straighten that back leg. Breathing here, allowing the body to settle into this form. Good. And on your next exhale, begin to twist. Right arm comes forward, left arm behind you, twisting over that left leg. Again, what does 50% effort look like for you today? Is that dropping back down onto a knee? Let it be. And then cartwheel the hands down and step back to plank pose. You can come straight into down dog or take another vinyasa, your choice. I'm going to stay in down dog and steady the breath. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, make your way to the front of the mat and fold. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And exhale, release back down into the fold. Feet steady. Inhale, rise up, reach up, open up just briefly. And exhale, draw the energy down. Good. For these next few poses, I'm definitely going to want my blocks. So if you have blocks handy, go ahead and make sure they're close by so you can access them. And we'll inhale and lengthen. And exhale, fold. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, step the left foot back behind you, setting up first for warrior one. So that back foot is at a 45-degree angle, front knee bending right over the ankle. And then when you feel steady, coming up into a warrior one. So take your time here. We've been working the action of moving that front hip back, left hip forward to square, drawing the abdominal muscles toward the spine and lengthening up. Take a moment to allow the body to drop into steadiness here. And from here, we're going to move into triangle pose. So you might want to have a block handy on the outside of your front foot. And then we're going to inhale, lengthen through both arms, and exhale, begin to move that right front hip back, 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 as the front body folds forward. That right hand can reach down for the block. Maybe it's on the lowest side, maybe it's on the second lowest side, and then wherever you can find some space throughout the pelvic bowl to begin to open up. And then maybe you extend through the left arm. Now with your gaze, you can look up. If that tweaks your neck at all or it makes you feel unsteady, you can gaze straight out in front of you or down towards the toes. So just finding the position that feels most steady in your body today. Keeping that action, that twisting action of pulling the right hip back, but opening through the top half of the body, and then lengthening through the left side. Good, and we're going to bring the hands down here. Take a moment, place the block down so it's steady, and step the back foot in just a step or two, so shortening your stance. Then bringing the block to the inside of that front foot. We're moving into twisted triangle. So right hand comes to right hip, squaring those hips as best as you can, and then begin to twist over that front right leg. And maybe you extend that right arm up toward the sky. So just moving with the breath, letting the body unfold slowly at its own pace. Keep a gentle bend in that front knee so the knee isn't locked out. And then exhale, bring the hands down, set the block aside, and we'll move back into down dog. So stepping back into a plank and then lifting the hips, settling through the heels, down dog. And feel free to take a child's pose here as well. Whatever feels more like a reset, whatever feels more restorative. Good, and then inhale, look forward. Exhale, walk the feet to the front of the mat and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way to standing. Reach up, lengthen up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Now before we move into the second side, we're going to do a little balance work. So we're going to get nice and steady in that right leg, feeling all four corners of the foot. And then we're going to come into tree pose. So this left foot can come to the ankle, it can come to the shin, or it can come above the knee. So a few options, just notice where the hips feel today, what feels most expansive and opening without overexerting. And then the hands can rest on the hips. They might come up above you. They might be at heart center. So again, finding what feels most steadying and grounding for you today. And just breathing here. This is a great alternative to half moon pose. It's more of a beginner option, but it's a great thing to practice before menstruation as it really opens up that pelvic bowl and releases a lot of the muscular tension in there. This can even be a helpful pose when you feel heavy cramps during menstruation. Okay, coming back down, coming to the front of our mat. Feet about hip width, grounding back into the feet, and inhaling, lengthening. Exhale, folding. Inhale, coming up halfway. Exhale, place the hands, step the right foot back, coming into a warrior one. Good. Taking some breaths, some moments to square the hips toward the front of the mat, to lengthen through the upper body, and to just settle in. Having those blocks handy, we're going to, from here, come into triangle pose on the left side. So I'm going to grab the block, put it on the outside of the left ankle, and from here I'm going to begin to straighten that left leg, still keeping that left hip pressing back as my upper body lengthens forward, and then from here opening through the upper body, maybe lengthening through that right hand. And again, notice where it feels good on the neck. You can even bring the hand behind the neck to support it, if that feels better for you. Good, and just giving those hips some deep love. Deep breaths. And then inhale, bring that top arm down and set the block down to a more steady position. Step your back foot in just a little bit, so shortening your stance, switching the block to the inside of that front foot, and then coming up into twisted triangle. So still pulling that left hip back, and then just as we did in high lunge and low lunge, twisting toward that front leg and maybe extending through the top arm. So if you feel like you're kind of falling forward and you're unbalanced, bring a gentle bend into that front knee and step the back foot back just a little bit further. If you feel like your hips are too constrained, they can't twist, step that back foot out toward the right a little bit more. That'll give the hips a little bit more room to twist. Whew. Feeling it in that front outer hip in a deep way. And then we'll place the hands down, set the block aside, and come back to plank and down dog. And breathing here, feel free to come into a child's pose again, always. And then inhale, look forward, walk your feet to the front of the mat. Keep the knees bent and gently fold. Maybe you'd like to take opposite elbows again, let your body hang. Maybe you'd like to clasp your hands behind the back and stretch through the shoulders in this way. Releasing the hands down. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Keeping the feet steady, inhale, rise all the way to standing, reach up, lengthen, and exhale, draw that energy down the center line. Good, just letting all of those movements, all of those energy patterns marinate and integrate into the body and the mind. Then we'll come back to the center of the mat. I'll face you and we'll do tree pose on the opposite side. So this time grounding into that left foot, and we're going to lift the right leg. And if you're having trouble balancing today, it's not uncommon for the pelvis to be a little bit uneven during this phase of our cycle. You can always find a wall or something next to you that's sturdy, that's not going to move. And sometimes it's helpful if you have a hard floor like I do, or linoleum floor, not carpet really, to come off of the mat. Sometimes people find better balance that way. So just a few options. And again, the right foot can come to the ankle, the shin, or above the knee. And just take your time here. Be a little bit curious and playful in balance poses. Balance poses are not the poses to be super serious in. And keep pressing that inner thigh and the foot together, melding them together in the center. Getting a little bit of a lift in the pelvis. Good, and when you're ready, you can slowly release that right leg down. And we'll come back onto the mat. And we're just going to shake it out a little bit. So go ahead and bounce into the heels, keeping a bend in the knees. Let the arms shake. Good, let the belly be loose. Let the hips move from side to side. Head can move from side to side, just shaking it out. This is actually a great practice, this shaking. If you feel overwhelmed, feel too in your head, feel triggered, feel stressed, feel fatigued, this is a great thing to come back to kind of reset the nervous system. Good, and then finding steadiness once again. And we'll walk our feet out to the outer edges of the mat. Turn the toes out ever so slightly and begin to bend the knees, coming down into a squat, into Malasana. So you might find that your heels come up when you're coming into this pose. Not a problem. You can just bring the blanket behind you and support the heels in that way. You can also slide a block or a bolster or pillows underneath you to help prop up your lower half, your bottom, so you can lengthen through the upper body. This position in the body is often called goddess pose. So it's one of the deep feminine forms in our yoga practice. Good, and just letting that lower body sink, pressing elbows into the knees, allowing your heart to be present, gently open, supported by the back body. Good, and then when you're ready, you can slowly extend the legs out in front of you, wiggle and shake it out. Good, and we'll just come into a couple of gentle seated twists. You can stay up on your blanket if you'd like to. You don't have to. So first we're going to bring that left leg into like a butterfly pose, but pull it in a little bit closer into the body. And we're going to step the right foot over. So let me face you. So this is what it looks like from the front. And you can bring that left foot even a little closer if that feels better in your body. Good. And then you're going to place the right hand back behind you. Inhale, lengthen through that left arm. And maybe you bring the left arm around that front knee and gently twist. So So again, not yanking the body open, but breath by breath, allowing it to open if it wants to. Keeping the gaze down. Breathing into the lower back, breathing into the kidneys. Just allowing yourself to be very internal here. Inhale, coming back to center, and we'll switch sides. So bending that right heel comes toward the left glute. And then stepping that left foot over. Lengthening through both sides of the body, planting that left hand down behind you. Inhale, reach up through the right arm, and exhale, swing the arm around that left knee, beginning to twist. With each inhale, lengthen, and with each exhale, you can twist just a little bit deeper. And again, come back to that anchor point of 50% effort. Coming back to the steadiness, to the internal stillness. Just allowing your body and your mind to receive this. And inhale, slowly untwisting, uncrossing the legs. I'm going to face the front of the mat again. We'll just come into a gentle butterfly pose. You can stay steady or wiggle the knees like this, gently opening up through the hips, the knees, the pelvis. And just check in and notice how you feel since the beginning of the practice. Notice how your breath feels, how your body feels, how your mind feels. The luteal phase tends to be a time where the inner critic is loudest. So just notice if that's arising for you. And maybe you can bring a gentle, loving, kind, compassionate voice to that inner critic. Hear it out, hear what it has to say, thank it for any advice, for any wisdom, and then say, okay, I've got it from here, thank you. Good, and then we'll bring the knees up, and we're going to come onto our backs for a little bit of inversion practice. So, rolling onto the back. Having a block handy. First, just lengthening through the spine, letting the side bodies lengthen, walking the feet in toward the glutes and keeping them parallel. And then having a block at the ready. Planting the hands down. Inhale, slowly lift the glutes, the lower back, the upper back. Maybe you walk your shoulders underneath you. Maybe you want to stay here in bridge pose. And maybe you want to bring a block underneath you. So I recommend this height, the second height, right at the sacrum. So you can just let it relax onto there, really settle. It can feel really nice, really supportive at this time. Really send the breath deep, deep into the lower belly, deep into the pelvis here. And maybe you'd like to extend one leg and the other. And this is a great modification for shoulder stand. So if shoulder stand is too much for you, if you have any history of neck injuries or tend to have a lot of neck tension, this can be a great option to still get that inversion in the body, get all of the benefits without putting undue stress on the cervical spine. This is also incredibly restorative for the lymph system in the body. is intimately intertwined with the immune system. Good, and then slowly bringing one leg down, bringing the other leg down, lifting the low back up, sliding the block out from underneath you and rolling onto a flat back. Just stretching both legs out, stretching the arms overhead, allowing the full body to lengthen out. And when you're ready, bending the right knee in toward the right armpit. And then exhale, taking the right knee over the body toward the left for a gentle twist. Keeping that right arm extended out into a half T position. And you can keep the gaze straight ahead or looking over that right hand. Notice if you're clinging or holding undue tension, and you can kind of just let the body soften here, even if that means there's a little bending in the knees, a little floppiness. Let it be. Good. On an inhale, slowly come back to center, hugging that right knee in once more, and then extending it down to meet the left. On an inhale, bend the left knee in toward the left armpit, feeling that stretch, especially in the right hip. And as you exhale, sending the left knee over the body to the right for a gentle twist. And once you're in position, allow the body to soften. Deep, full belly breaths. And inhale, come back to center. Hug the left knee in once more. And when you're ready, extend the left leg out. Coming into our final resting pose, Shavasana. So if you'd like to grab a blanket, place the blanket underneath your knees, underneath your head, over your abdomen. Just take a moment to really love on yourself. So practice the intentional act of honoring what your body is asking for. And then coming back to the awareness of steadiness in your body right now. Maybe you begin to scan from the top of the head down for any remaining tension, holding, and just allowing that to soften. Letting everything be all right, just as it is. Please resist the urge to get up out of Shavasana early. Continue to offer your body stillness and space. Remind your body what it feels like to be instead of being stuck in doing all the time. Allow your nervous system to shift into the relaxation response where healing happens, where immune support happens, where creativity flows. Resting is so much more than doing nothing. And keeping this internal connection, begin to become aware of the external body or external surroundings. And maybe begin to wiggle the fingers and the toes, creating gentle awakening movement in the body. Take a final stretch. And when you're ready, roll to the right side and pause. Allow the practice to integrate. Allow yourself to come back slowly and begin to press up to a seated position at the front of your mat. Taking a moment to root into the sit bones, to lengthen through the spine. And if it feels good, to place the hands at heart center. Take a moment here just to send yourself 3 blessings of gratitude. 3 things that your body and your mind do for you that you are so grateful for. And holding this vibratory frequency, send a blessing out to someone, to somewhere, to all beings. Just a wish of well-being, of peace. Thank you so much for sharing this practice with me. Take really good care of yourself, and I will see you next time. Namaste.